everybody, I'm Merisu the Art Sheep, and thank you so much for checking out this video. And today I'm working on an original project that I am calling, well, I'm either going to call it Snow White's Black Cat, or I Want to Be Like Snow White. Haven't figured out on the name. But anyway, it has my original character, Misato Yushoku, from my original series, Revolution of Color. So in my last speed paint, which was of Wasp, I said that I wanted to work on one original piece before I started on working on Revolution in Full Color, Chapter 2, and this wasn't the one that I was referring to. Well, actually, if you listen to the speed paint as I'm closing off the audio and wrapping things up, I actually remembered that I was working on this drawing as well, so I was like, oh, I actually have two things that I'm working on. So the first one that I was working on that I originally mentioned in the speed paint was a different project, but it's a lot more bigger, so it's not finished yet. So that's why I came out with this one first. I also think that I don't think I started this one first, but so the Ever project, it's not like one drawing, it's several drawings, and I don't want to say it's like a giant project, but it's definitely not a small project, so it's kind of like a biggish medium project. But either way, I was working on it in parts, and at the time I didn't have the last part started, so the part that I'm working on now was created after this drawing. So since this drawing was created first before the last part of that project, I thought, do them in order that you started in, and I'm not 100% sure. Like, I think I might have even started this drawing before I started the Ever project altogether. I forget. I gotta look up the dates and stuff. But either way, I thought this drawing should come out first because I'm also almost finished with it. The Ever drawing, I still have a long ways to go. Hopefully, I will be able to finish it by the end of this week, like no later than Sunday. But even if I do finish it on Sunday, the YouTube video of it will not be coming out until Monday because I don't record audio on Sunday. One, because I don't have time. Two, I like to dedicate that day to, God and church and all that jazz. So I do not record audio on Sunday. So probably won't be coming out until Monday. Might even be later. But if it is going that much later, then I'm going to just work on Revolution of Color. No matter what, I'm going to start working on Revolution of Color by Monday, Lord willing, if the world doesn't blow up. Well, actually, so I'm going to work on Revolution of Color Chapter 1 and 0. I'm going to correct any, art mistakes that I made, any grammar mistakes that I made, and then I will release those, and then I'll do Chapter 2. So I'm going to try to get back on track. But for now, I thought it would be fun to just come out with this drawing. And I gotta say, I'm on a roll. Like, I didn't do hardly anything last year because of reasons. But this month, I got free speed paints coming out. Yay! Free! We're really on top of things. Another reason why I wanted to come out with this drawing is because it is Snow White theme, and there is a little something called Snow White that may or may not be coming out around this time. Fun fact, if this video just gets one viewer and one like, then it will have more viewers than the showing of Snow White at my theater ad. Well, I'm not 100% sure about it. I didn't check it right before the day ended, so I don't know 100% if it will have more, but it might be. It's very possible because that movie ain't doing so good. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't want any film to fail. I want movies to be good, and I definitely feel for the smaller people involved, like the lesser known actors, the talent that goes behind the scenes, such as the people who carry all of the equipment, the costume designers, even though they didn't do that good of a job at Snow White's costume. I'm going to assume that, they were rushed or something. I don't know the situation. But I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for the caterers, the people who have to animate it, because yes, despite this being a live action remake, there's still animation in it. So I feel sorry for all of them. I don't feel sorry for Disney, the company, though, or Rachel Zegler, because, what were you thinking? I think a lot of people actually forget that Rachel Zegler actually said most of the really controversial stuff back in 2022, and no one really noticed because everyone was just busy. And then once things started slowing down because of the Covey Wovey, people went back and looked at what she said and like, oh, so you hate the original. Well, that sucks. So, yes, for that reason, I do not care if it's failing. But for the smaller people, I do care. And also the feeders, too. Like, I heard that feeders were really banking on this movie doing good. And I love going to the movie theater. I won't go to the movie theater to see anything. It's got to be something that I like. But when I do go, I do enjoy it. Although I don't like seeing movies at night anymore. I just really don't like it. Like, it's got to be a really good movie for me to go out in the night. I don't like the dark, folks. I'm not a nighttime person. I'm a morning person. I find it funny that so many movies are coming out earlier and earlier. So if I remember correctly, the release date for the Snow White movie was on March 21st, but yet it was already out because, you know, advanced previews and all that. So why was the release? I don't know. I don't get it, movies. I swear, it's just a big enigma to me. So why bother thinking about it? But anyway, let's talk about the piece instead of that abomination. I might talk a little bit about it more later. But for now, I want to talk about the piece. So originally, this was just supposed to be her floating in kind of midair, suspended by ribbons, and you would have a whole bunch of fun things floating with her. I think I said in my live stream that I was going to do like a space theme background, so she would be like in a spaceship. And I wish I did that, but I totally forgot that I said that. In the end, I just kind of do an abstract thing with a mirror in the background. And I definitely do like it. I liked what I came up with, but at the same time, I do kind of wish I did the space thing. But I think I still have the project. Like, I still have the clip file of this, so I might go back and make a different version of it with the space theme background. Well, at the very least, I think I might make one of Misato wearing her normal clothes. So, for those who do not know about Revolution of Color, there are a few references in the beginning to Snow White. And no, it has nothing to do with Disney's live-action remake of Snow White. I did not make the Snow White reference into Revolution in Full Color simply because I wanted to stick it to Disney of Snow White. No, that is not why I did it. The reason why I have the Snow White aesthetic going on with Revolution Full Color is because, so I kind of have a little bit of a game that I play with all my original characters, and that is if they were any princess, what princess would they be most like? It doesn't matter if it's a Disney princess, just any princess. So for my original character, Kyla, she would probably be most like a mix between Cinderella, her story. Let me rephrase that. Stories, not their personalities. Their personalities are not quite like them. But story-wise, Kyla from my original series, Tales of Hollis, her story would be like Cinderella and Anastasia. She would have a lot of motifs to that. I know Anastasia isn't originally a fairy tale, it's an urban legend that's based off of very real history that's very sad and tragic, but nonetheless, the urban legend does run deep, and the urban legend kind of just reminds me of Kyla's story, and it has a lot of similar elements to it. And then, moving on, one ever character named Livia, who's from a Never series that I don't really talk about that much in this. It's called I Don't Want Any More Girls Allowed at My Party. It's kind of like my isekai story. She would have a lot of similarities with Sleeping Beauty. And then, even though it's not a princess fairy tale, sisters Brandy and Champagne, their story would kind of have some callbacks to like Sherlock Holmes and Watson's adventures. And so I was thinking about, okay, what would Misato be? Well, she has short black hair, and I figured, you know, she kind of looks like Snow White. So I thought, I mean, she's Asian, but her aesthetic does kind of remind me of Snow White. And then the more I thought about it, the more it just kind of really did fit, because she has Wicked Queen in her story, and she has seven revolutionists. So it kind of just fell in place naturally. Like I made seven revolutionists because seven colors of the rainbow, because color theory is kind of a big running theme also in Revolution of Full Color too. And by a big theme I just mean it's something that I use a lot in it. It's very prevalent in the character designs. And with Revolution of Full Color, because there's seven colors in the rainbow, I thought I would give seven revolutionists, and I was like, hey, seven dwarfs. That's funny. So I just really, after I realized that it wasn't just like her hair and her skin that reminded me of Snow White. There was actually quite a few things in it that made it very similar to Snow White. So I just really leaned into it. So in the beginning of chapter one, Misato even compares herself to Snow White. And that's why one of the titles that I'm thinking about for this drawing is I Want to Be Like Snow White. So Misato is not at all like Snow White. She is very selfish. She is very, she, well, yeah, I'll just say that. She's very selfish. She is in this for herself. She won't do anything for anybody else unless it, benefits her. Like, the only reason why she wants others to improve is to make her life better. The reasons she will do anything to improve her own life. She definitely does. It's not like she's heartless. It's just that she's kind of had it rough in her past. So to her, she's like, no, well, no one helped me, so why should I help anyone else? The only one who looks out for you is yourself. So it's not like it's totally a place of awfulness that she comes from, of her selfishness. It's just kind of, that's the way that was the hand she was dealt. So because of that, it made her a very selfish person. But she doesn't want to be a selfish person. She wants to be better. And one of the things that she compares herself to be better, like one of the imaginary goals that she sets up for herself, is Snow White. And the reason why she chose Snow White is because she's always loved that story ever since she was a little girl. And the original fairy tale. Well, she would like the Disney version too, but I am referring to the original version from the story. That's the reason why her dress looks the way it is. And that's another thing also I like about the whole entire theme about Snow White, is that her dress is in the like primary colors of red, yellow, and blue, and which was like kind of at least to me, it was the original color mixing thing. But later on, I learned that it was cyan, magenta, and yellow, and that's what Misato is. So that was just kind of an everything that I ended up liking. So it kind of worked out. So for Misato, when she's dressed up as Snow White, or she envisions herself as Snow White, which is kind of like the ideal version of herself, what she wants to be, she has she wears a Snow White dress, or at least a dress that's inspired off of Snow White, and her hair is like normal and she doesn't have the markings on her face. So if you're wondering why doesn't she have the skin markings on her eyes and why her bangs aren't colored, that's why. Also because that's the hardest part when drawing Misato, is the fact that she's got very visible colors of magenta, cyan, and yellow. My mind went blank for a minute. It does kind of make it a little hard to draw her outfits, because it's like, well, I can't really make her in this color because it's doesn't match. It should look like a color monstrosity. So that's why I primarily just draw her in black clothing that either has like a little bit of cyan or magenta, or like a lot of it. So I just kind of make her in clothing that's a little bit more neutral, so that way it doesn't look like one big color explosion. That's one reason why I had to redesign Misato, because I just kind of like color overblown. I think I showed off this design in a stream that was by Literary Devil, and I think the first thing he said when he saw it was, it's very colorful. And yeah, so I toned down her color in her main design a little bit. And I also have a secondary outfit which is even less colorful, so that way it wouldn't be one big eyesore. But that still doesn't change the fact that Misato still has these very noticeable colors, so it does make it difficult to put her in ever types of outfits that are different colors. But I just made it that if she does want to wear a different outfit, she can make the color go. So the markings under her eyes, they're not makeup. It's from her powers. Same thing with her nails. But if she does try, she can make them either disappear or change the color. So for her nails, she can change the color to black. And then for her eyes markings, she can make them disappear. But she has to actively try. So if she's not actively trying, then the markings will just appear on her eyes. And as for her bangs, I'm not sure if she can change the color of those or if I'm just going to make it that she dyes it. But in the end, it doesn't even matter because for this drawing, this isn't technically Misato. This is the ideal Misato. And like I said, her ideal self is Snow White. And because that's just kind of what she wants to be. She wants to be someone who's more selfless, more pure and innocent. But that's also another fun little detail that I put. So she actually loves traditional fairy tales. Like she loves the romance of, the knight saving the princess, the damsel in distress, being rescued by the prince. She likes true love's kiss. Like she believes in all that stuff and she loves it. But she'll never admit it. So if you were to ask her, she would definitely hide that fact because she's a little embarrassed by it. Because she's definitely got more of the kind of punk rocker persona going on with like a hint of emo kid. So her liking fairy tales is something that she's a little bit ashamed of because it definitely doesn't fit her aesthetic, and also she doesn't want anyone to think that she's childish, which she is kind of childish. Actually, she's childish in a lot of ways, but nonetheless, she doesn't want ever people to know that. So if you were to ask her, does she like Snow White, she would totally keep that in. So anyway, like I said earlier, I totally forgot that I was going to do a spacey theme for this drawing. So instead I went for a magic mirror. And the mirror was really hard to draw. Like I was figuring out, okay, so I looked up the original magic mirror from the Disney's version of Snow White. And I really did like how it looked. So I used a lot of inspiration for that. And I also use some inspiration from a mirror that I made myself back in Revolution of Full Color. And I really do like the details that I put on the mirror. So at the very top, you have two dragons that are around the world. And I was going to make them different dragons. But I then realized that only one of the dragon gods appear. So one of the main antagonists, I guess this is kind of a spoiler, but I don't care because it is introduced in chapter 1, so it's not that much of a spoiler. So one of the main antagonists of Revolution Full Color is Lucidian, who is originally antagonist for Tales of Hollows. So yeah, the series kind of connect, but they're in like different dimensions. So it's multiverse kind of thing, I was doing the multiverse before it was boring, folks. And before, I just mean I did it before it was completely out of track. I don't know what I'm saying. But anyway, point being is that Lucidian is the antagonist, Tales of Halls, which is Kyla's story, and then she is carried over to Revolution of Full Color, and she is the antagonist, one of the antagonists for Revolution of Full Color. There's also a never antagonist though. Well, several ever antagonists though in Tales of Hollows. One of them is the Dragon of the Dark, but he does not appear in this. So Lucidian, the Dragon of Light, is the only one that appears in Tales of Hollows. So I thought I would include the Dragon of Light in the mirror. She takes shape as a human or a dragon. She kind of goes back and forth. And then also I included a moon because Misato likes the moon. I think the reason why I made her like the moon, so when I was designing Misato, I had no idea she was going to be a character for a story. I was just designing a character who looked fun and who came to my mind, and she was based off of the villain Brushogun from Teen Titans Trouble in Tokyo, the movie. And that was all she was. But as I was kind of coming up with a personality for her and a background, I had Catwoman in mind. Well, specifically, I had Selena Kyle from Gotham in mind. So that's where the cat aesthetic was thrown into. I also had like Korra from Tron and Neko Sakuraba in my head a lot. And I think also maybe like a few ever characters, but the biggest characters that I had in mind were Asuka and Misato. That's where Misato's name comes from, is Misato Katsuragi from Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I was kind of just thinking of the moon, so because of that I give Misato very strong moon aesthetics too. I think that's a different drawing that I did, is I compared each one of my main original characters from my original stories as to like the elements. So Misato, my moon, Kaila, my sun, and Azura Shiraboshi, the stars. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got on there. I'm trying to talk more about the drawing because that would probably be more interest to people in the story. But yeah, for the dress, I just wanted to be as flowy as possible, and I thought it would be really fun to have just like a big wad of flowers underneath the skirt. I don't know why. I think I was thinking of something, but I can't remember what. I'm going to say it was an illustration by Arina Tanamaru, the mangakist, but I do not know. It was just like a drawing of a girl falling, and her skirt was either becoming flowers or there was flowers under it, and I really liked that idea, so I had to use it for this drawing. And then, like, when I was doing this line art of this drawing in the live stream, that's why you saw my chat for a minute at the very beginning. Uh, it I added the cape because I didn't really want to go without the cape because I do like it. And I like the amount of red that it gives to the drawing. I think if I had any problem with this drawing is the fact... No, not really. I actually don't. Like, obviously there are always things that I could probably do better, but there's nothing that I dislike in this. Like, I could always improve the coloring, I could always improve the lighting and stuff like that. I guess the mirror would probably be what I colored the worst. But for the most part, I'm very satisfied with this drawing. And I really do like how I like the concept and stuff. Like I said, I do wish I would have did the space theme because it would have just been fun to see a princess floating in kind of like a sci-fi background. It would have really matched the aesthetic going on with Revolution in Full Color. So when I first created Revolution in Full Color, I kind of said the aesthetic was very cyberpunky, and the reason why I said that was just because it had a lot of bright color costumes in it, like the cyberpunk aesthetic. Specifically, like shows like Cyberpunk Edge Runner and such. But then I was like, there's nothing really cybery about it though, so I just decided to ditch it. It's just an urban fantasy in the end. A modern day futuristic urban fantasy. It's not even like a full post-apocalyptic because it's like the world's... Well, I don't really want to say too much about that because that is kind of a spoiler. But the world is definitely just... Well, the only thing you really see is Misato's main home, which is a fictional island called Light Island, which is where all my stories take place. But and so you don't really see anything else outside of that, and that world is very strictly controlled by the government. But at the same time, it's not like it's completely hell either. Like, it's not quite as bad as some areas. And then again, maybe, no, I was gonna say, like, maybe it's not quite as bad as it is in Hunger Games, but yeah, there are some parts of it, there are some areas that are pretty bad. So, yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. I would say it's probably like, I don't know. I'm trying to think. But my thinking powers have just went out the window. Goodbye. I actually, so when I was working on this drawing, same thing with the wash drawing. Uh, when I was working on them, the power went out, so I had to restart and redraw some several things. Um, and luckily, well, unlucky, but also lucky, for the wash drawing, I ended up saving everything right before the power went out because I had a feeling because it was really bad. But for this time, I wasn't quite sure if the power was going to go out. It was really windy, but it wasn't stormy. So I didn't know really what to do. And I had OBS open and I was recording and stuff like that, and the power went off, and I lost everything. But I did save not too long ago, and clipstudiopaint does have a recovery feature when your computer shut off suddenly. So I was able to recover some of it, and the parts that it wasn't able to recover did end up getting recorded anyway. So like for my princess drawing, I ended up having, that wasn't because of the power, that was because of me. I just forgot to save, and I ended up exiting out. So because of that, I had to redraw everything, but I had to look to the speed paint to make sure I got it as pretty much like that as I possibly could. This time, since I lost the footage, I was like, oh, I don't have to worry about matching it up to anything, because there is nothing, because it's gone. It's gone. But at least it wasn't that much. So there's that. I would have been very sad if it was that much. I'm not sure if I should have made the ribbons a different color because it is a lot of red with her cape and her ribbon, but no other color looked right. Because it's like, you got the red string of fade and all that jazz. And red's just such, like, I love red. So my favorite color is obviously blue, and then like black, and then purple. But red is definitely up there. Like, I never said red was my favorite color, but I've always loved red. I loved bright red shoes. I loved Ariel's hair. I loved bright red lipstick. I loved really bright red. It's just always been. Oh yeah, also Winnie the Pooh shirt, a bright red balloon. I just really liked red. It was very visually appealing. And because of that, I just couldn't really see anything else. And then here's the cat, which is why this drawing is called Snow White's Black Cat. Not just that, I just kind of find it funny because, you have Snow White, but then you have a black cat. So, it's just a little funny. And Snow White obviously loves animals, but obviously modern day house cats are one of the animals that she's around. She's more around forest animals. So there's that. I just realized something. I think there's like a white-tailed deer in Snow White, but I think those kind of deer, aren't they only native to North America? So that's a little funny because, the original Snow White takes place in Germany. I'm not sure if you can see it because I'm trying to put my sprites on here, but for this part, I actually, underneath my sprite, there's a never sprite of my gaming sheet because I streamed the night prior and I forgot to take it away. Anyway, after I was done with the mirror and the ribbons, I then added some objects that are referring to the original Snow White tale. So I have the apple, I haven't added it yet, but you'll see a corset and you'll see a hair comb. And since the apple was red, I decided to make the hair comb blue, and I made the corset yellow, but I put some red and blue on it just to kind of, spruce everything up and keep it all in the same vein. And like I said, I really am proud of this piece. I think I did a pretty good job with it, and there's nothing in it that I'm really that unsatisfied with. I could always do better, but there's nothing in it that I actively hate. Like, there's some drawings where I just like, ooh, that was not good at all. I wish I would have done it better. Why did I do it that way? But nah. So for the hair combs design, I didn't really know what I was going with, but in the end, I kind of just did something that was based off of Mulan's hair comb. I really do like all the decorative hair combs from like Europe and Asia. They're so pretty. I want to buy some of my own. Like some traditional Chinese hair combs or traditional Japanese hair sticks, some European hair combs. It's just like, they're all so pretty. I love them. I want to own some. I also want to own some hats too. So I own like a lot of winter hats, like old fashioned winter hats, but I don't own any springtime hats. So I want to get some springy time hats too, because I could always go for a few more of those. The hair comb is probably what I think I colored the most, but by then I was getting a little lazy, if I'm gonna be honest. I just kind of wanted to finish it, and I didn't want to. So, like, with the flowers, I was originally going to color those all by hand, and I could have drawn them by hand, but it would have taken a long time. And it's like, you really need to, when you're drawing a drawing like this, you really need to kind of weigh your options on what you want to do and stuff, because with details that are definitely smaller, I think it's probably better to just kind of not waste your time and draw them by hand. I mean, it's definitely not a waste because everybody will appreciate it, but if it is a smaller detail, then sometimes just using something like a brush or an acid will be better. For the quartz, I was originally going to do stripes, but in the end I decided to go for like this flower pattern aesthetic. And I'm not sure if it's better or not, but I do like it. I am very happy with how it looked, and I don't think I could have done the stripes in a way that would have made it look better. Like, if I'd done the stripes right, they might have looked better, but I don't think I could have done the stripes right, so in the end, I went for the flowers. And plus, I was just kind of like, let's do the thing that looks a little bit more simple. And the roses definitely were simpler because it was just the brush that I had to go over it with, than doing every single stripe manually. But it didn't look like it was simpler. Like, it still looked very detailed. So there was that. But again, I didn't want to make everything too detailed because I didn't want to distract from Snow White Misato. And then for the flowers down below, I gave orchids. The reason why I did orchids, so I was originally going to draw a specific type of orchid, but like I said, I was kind of getting to the point of where I just wanted to finish this drawing, and I had just downloaded this orchid brush from the clipstudiopaint acid, and I'm like, okay, that actually looks really nice. And it looks really fitting on there, so in the end, I was just like, just do the orchid brush. Save yourself the trouble. And the reason why I picked orchids is because the orchids are a reference to the main villain of the series. So I said Lucidian is one of the antagonists, but the main one is a evil scientist named Ji Lu, and the flower that she is represented by is a Chinese orchid. I forget the specific name for it. Man. I'm gonna put it right there on the screen in the subtitles because I forgot the name of it. But that's the orchid that she's represented by. And the animal that she's represented is an orchid praying mantis. So that's the reason why I chose orchids. Because I really liked the orchid praying mantis. I like the idea of a deadly, and by deadly I just mean mantises are mean. They can be vicious at times. So there's that, and they also, they take off the heads of their mates, and the orchid mantis looks nice because it looks like a flower, so I like the entire aesthetic of something that looks like a flower, but it's actually a mean, vicious predator. I'm not sure if they're like, orchid mantises are mean, but I've seen some regular mantises that are mean, so yeah. Anyway, after that, it was just finishing up with the effects, figuring out what looked right, kind of trying to decide on what I should do, because I didn't want to hide the colors too much, because sometimes when I do the whole dreamy effect, it makes the colors too saturated, and I didn't like that. So in the end, I just kind of made a blurry effect, and yeah, that was the drawing. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked, do all the YouTube things. If you didn't like, hey, thanks for watching this far anyway. It means a lot, and I will be back with another drawing, hopefully real soon. Like I said, it's a medium biggish project. Until then, bye!